Hello and welcome to our webinar. We are delighted to have you here with us. Um, I am Dr. Leah Jeunnette. I am the director of our MA program in Bioethics and Medical Humanities. I'm also the Associate Director of Educational Programs and a Senior Research Associate here in the Department of Bioethics at Case Western Reserve. And I'm also a clinical ethicist at University Hospitals, which is right next door to Case Western Reserve. But I think one of my most proud titles is that I am a master's program alum. I graduated in 2009 from this program, and it's now really interesting to be on the other side of it. We're delighted to have you join us today to learn more about our MA program. We're going to talk just briefly about Case Western Reserve University, the School of Medicine. We'll talk about why we study things like bioethics and medical humanities. We'll talk specifically about the MA program in an overview, get into application and financial aid, and we will do Q&A as well. So if you are joining us live, you are welcome to submit questions in the Q&A feature here on Zoom. You can look for the three dot ellipses to get to the Q&A or look for this Q&A icon and feel free to submit your questions. I will save them till the end, till I address them, but you're welcome to submit them anytime during the presentation. All right, so let's dive into Case Western Reserve University. So if you're not familiar with us, we are a research focused university, what is labeled as an R01 university, and we are located in Cleveland, Ohio. We have a great location in University Circle with a lot going on in that area. But in terms of research and our medical school, we are ranked very highly. So our School of Medicine is ranked #1 in Ohio, and we're considered a top tier medical school by the U.S. News and World Report. Um, According to the Leiden report, we are #7 in the United States and #22 in the world when it comes to research, which is really exciting. And the Blue Ridge Institute for Medical Research also ranks us very high when it comes to the amount of funding we receive. Obviously, these rankings and these numbers fluctuate, and there's different factors that go into them. But what I like to highlight is that we are an active school of medicine that is actively involved in research, not only at our university, but with our partner institutions, our hospitals, and our schools. Across the street from us, but also around the world. And that's really important to us, and that we are a thriving university. So one of the questions that often comes up, I get asked this all the time, is why study bioethics and medical humanities? Why does this matter? What's important about it? And I think the most fundamental layer is that healthcare impacts all of us, whether it's your personal healthcare or your loved one's healthcare, whether it's professional, you want to go into the healthcare field or you're currently working in it. It impacts all of us in a myriad of ways. And one of the things we see quite a bit, it's part of the reason why medicine is the way it is we have constant advancements in these fields, medicine, science, technology. And ultimately, these changes lead to big questions. They end up being ethical and humanity concerns. So just as an example, some of these big questions could be, should we intervene? Or even frankly, can we intervene? What kind of values, if any, should inform policy and practice? Can we and should we ensure justice and respect for persons in research, in clinical practice, in how we approach public health issues? And where's the line? What is appropriate to ensure and what is too much or too restrictive? And these can be specific to the type of research or the clinical practice. They can be specific to the people that we're addressing. This can be specific to a period of time. There's so many things that go into this, and how we think about these questions, let alone how we answer them, really matter. And bioethics and medical humanities is at the forefront of addressing these types of questions. So now we know the why, but when it comes to a student in particular, what does it really do for their career path? Most students that do our master's program are not going into bioethics and or medical humanities full time, but they're going in a myriad of directions. Ultimately, because bioethics and medical humanities is interprofessional and interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, it allows us to launch students into a variety of professional careers. And so students go on to all these different areas of work, clinical and legal professions, regulations, research, arts and humanities, bioethics, and other areas of academia. And these fields of bioethics and medical humanities are set up to really allow students to also look for discernment for the undecided. If you are someone who says, I want to be in healthcare, I want to help people, I'm not exactly sure what that looks like. Or maybe your initial goal was to go into medical school or to go to law school, but that is not holding the same appeal it once did. But you still want to work in a space that's adjacent to those things. A program that focuses on bioethics and medical humanities is going to lend itself for this idea of discernment, of exploration, which is incredible. So, for example, we have students that come from all different majors that join our master's program every year. This is just a small sampling of the different types of majors that we see from students. What I love about this is it's not one size fits all. We have students that come from all different focuses, expertise, and they come to the table to have these great discussions. It then means that students after our program can go on to a myriad of career paths. Again, this is just a small sampling of where our students go, but it's amazing to see how they come into this program with their background, with their experiences, and then they move on to the next phase of their career, incorporating bioethics and medical humanities into that. So let's dive into the MA program. So our Master of Arts in Bioethics and Medical Humanities, we are currently celebrating our 30th year. Our program launched in 1995, and we are thrilled to be celebrating our anniversary this year. For students, for most students, they complete our program full time during a 1 year timeline. That translates to 2 semesters. So students will start in August and they will graduate in May. Over those 2 semesters, they will complete 30 hours, 30 credits of programming. What's great is this is how the program was designed. If a student chooses to do a part-time option or a dual degree option, obviously the timeline is different, but most students do the 1 year, 2 semester timeline. Within our curriculum, it is quite customizable. So 13 and a half credits are purely electives. We offer 160 hours of clinical rotations, which I'll talk about in just a minute. We offer study abroad opportunities as well as 3 different concentrations. We have personalized advising for each student. So if you think about all the different majors that students are coming from and the different career paths and goals they have, we need personalized advising. We match you with an advisor who is going to be able to speak to your interests and your area of focus within the program, and hopefully be able to help you match up the curriculum to your career goals. We also offer dual degree options, including the MD program, the medical school, law school, or the JD program, a master's of public health, master's of social work, and a master's science of nursing, and a master's of science in genetic counseling. You have to apply to every program independently or separately, and then assuming you're accepted to both programs, you would then be in the dual degree program. Obviously, each program has a different timeline of application and a different timeline of completing the dual degree program. If you want to learn more, contact me and we can talk about your specific interests. So let's talk a little bit more about this curriculum. So this chart can be a little overwhelming, so I want to focus on this first column, which is labeled traditional. So by default, all students are in what we label as the traditional program, meaning you take Foundations in Bioethics and Medical Humanities 1, Foundations in Bioethics and Medical Humanities 2. Those are our core seminar courses that our students take. You take 1 semester of clinical ethics rotations and you complete our capstone, which is a topic of your choosing with a mentor to work to write out a 23 to 25 page research paper. Then for the rest of the courses, they are pure electives. So you pick electives 1, 2, 3, and 4. Those are 3-credit electives, a mini elective of 1.5 credits, and a second semester of clinical ethics rotations. Now, for some students, that schedule, that type of elective options is the perfect fit for them. But other students really want to dive into one of our concentrations. So as I mentioned, we have 3 concentrations: medicine, society, and culture. Actually, this should say health policy and research ethics. So these 3 concentrations allow you to dive deeper into a specific area within this large, broad scope of bioethics and medical humanities. So for those in these concentrations, your first elective is actually designated as a 3-credit required course focused on that topic. You then have a designated mini elective, or a 1.5 credit that you complete. And then for the health policy and the research ethics, there is a required practicum component for students. The MSc practicum is optional, but in these practicums, instead of rotations, you are doing 80 hours of a project focused on a topic within your concentration. And then, of course, your electives should all be related to your concentration while you're in the program. So I do want to circle back and highlight our clinical ethics rotations. I think what's wonderful about these rotations is at minimum, students do 80 hours of rotations inside our teaching hospitals. At maximum, students do 160. Most students do 160. This is probably the #1 reason that students choose our Master's in Bioethics and Medical Humanities program compared to other master's programs across the country and other just master's programs in general. This is a really unique opportunity that our program created at its formation and is offered over our 30 years. And so what it looks like is students are assigned to a specific hospital in the fall semester. We have 4 wonderful teaching hospitals here in Cleveland, Ohio. And then your second semester, you're assigned to a different teaching hospital. So the goal would be that one semester you get access to a private hospital, so either university hospitals with or Cleveland Clinic. And our second or the other semester you would do a public hospital, so either Metro Health or the Cleveland VA. I want to talk a little bit about these hospitals. So University Hospitals, as I mentioned, is a private hospital system. It is the largest primary care provider of healthcare in Cleveland. It has a lot of opportunities for students. It is a level 1 trauma, so there's an active emergency department, as well as a level 1 pediatric emergency room. It offers transplants. It has ICUs focusing in medicine and cardiothoracic care, neuroscience, trauma and surgery, as well as pediatric and neonatal. It has a large pediatric children's hospital, Rainbow's Babies and Children's, which does a lot of work in that space. Cleveland Clinic is probably the most famous hospital out of Cleveland. It also is a private hospital that is a big hospital system that has a lot of different ICUs, medical, trauma, surgical, cardiac, different transplant ICUs. And so it does amazing work. And a lot of cancer care that goes on there. Metro Health is our county hospital, and so it is the safety net hospital of the system. It is a very active level 1 trauma. It also has a burn ICU, in addition to kind of your standard ICUs of medical, pediatric, neonatal, surgical trauma, cardiac. So it has a lot of critical care there as well. Our Lewis B. Stokes Cleveland VA Medical Center is the 4th largest veterans hospital in the country. And so it has quite an extensive inpatient service as well as outpatient services for our veterans. It does a lot of specialized care around spinal care, orthopedic care, as well as mental health care. During these rotations, you're attending different types of morning rounds. You're going to the ICUs, the general floors, interdisciplinary rounds. You can attend different committee meetings, such as ethics committee meeting, animal research meetings, transplant selection meetings, as well as going one-on-one with healthcare professionals, including physicians, nurses, genetic counselors, social workers, and chaplains. The goal during these rotations is for you as a student to go into all these different clinical settings and to extract the ethical issues that are going on in that patient's care. or in that meeting or in that one-on-one. And the goal is for you to really think about what are the ethical issues and what are all the issues that go into play as we work through these ethical issues. You will meet weekly with a clinical ethicist or ethics committee member, as well as fellow students who are rotating at that hospital to digest in a preceptor meeting what you've seen throughout that week and to talk about the ethics, the socioeconomic factors, the legal factors, the cultural factors, the religious factors, policies, all different kinds of things that go into clinical ethics. I mentioned earlier, we also offer bioethics study abroad courses. These courses are 3 credits. They are 1 to 2 weeks long. It depends on when they're offered, on how long they are. They are open to all students, all majors. There's no prereqs. But for our bioethics students, this is really a nuanced way to get bioethics education in a cross-cultural context. This upcoming spring, we're offering a 1-week May course in Paris, France. We have a 2-week May course in Granada, Spain, and we have a 1-week course over spring break in Birmingham, England. In future years, we may offer these courses. We may offer new courses or relaunching a course. We've offered courses to Amsterdam and the Netherlands. We've offered courses to Brazil. We've offered courses even domestically to our national park system. And so there's a lot of variety, and we're always excited to see what courses we will offer for students to take. So when it comes time to apply to the master's program, it's a pretty straightforward application. So there's an online application with the $50 fee. All transcripts from your undergrad or graduate institutions will need to be submitted. We recommend unofficial transcripts for the review process. Once you're admitted and choose to enroll in the program, then official transcripts need to be sent. We ask for either your CV or your resume, whatever format you have is fine. 2 letters of recommendation. A statement of purposes is like a personal essay, and the idea behind the statement of purpose is for you to address your interest in the topics of bioethics and medical humanities, and how do you hope to utilize these topics, this program, in your overall career path. Graduate test scores like MCAT, GRE, LSATs, any type of graduate test score or professional test score, those are optional for our application. If you are an international student, there are some additional documentation that is going to be needed. And if you're a current Case Western Reserve undergrad, you also need to work with me to create a PPOS form for the combined bachelor's and master's program. In terms of finances, we do offer an exciting opportunity for students called student assistantships. Students that apply for the assistantship, and this is a separate application after you've applied to the MA program, get an opportunity to fulfill roles in the teaching aspect, research, or administrative roles. Application for this launches in January. For students who are selected to do the student assistantships, these students are assigned one of the specific roles anywhere from 5 to 10 hours a week. And in exchange, you receive a partial tuition waiver. And at the maximum, we typically give around a 25% tuition waiver. And so you can calculate that out. We also have a standard financial aid options through our financial aid office. And tuition information is available through Case Western Reserve's graduate studies. They set the tuition for us. In terms of timeline, so we are currently taking applications for fall of 2026 for a start. If you are interested in applying by December 1st, we will, provided we have a completed application, we will render a decision before the end of the year. So you would have a decision rendered before we close the campus for winter break. If you are wanting to apply for our student assistantship opportunities, you need to submit a master's application by May 15th, and the student assistantship application would be due on June 1st. Our final deadline for the fall application cycle of 2026 is August 1st, and this should say our fall semester starts in August of 2026, and orientation would also be at the end of 2026. I'm going to open us up for questions in about our last 10 minutes. You are welcome to submit questions through the Q&A feature here. You can also email me, bioethics@case.edu, if you want to have specific questions answered, or if you're interested in scheduling a one-on-one meeting, you can email me and I can send you the link to set up this meeting, or you can scan this QR code to set up a meeting with me as well. I think what's really important to highlight as folks are submitting questions is a lot of students want to meet one-on-one to talk about their specific interest in the program, how this program is going to help their specific career path, to better understand their qualifications, what are their chances of getting in, kind of almost like a pre-screening of the application process. And I think that can really be beneficial to students. We have a very high yield rate for students. And what I mean by that is the students who apply to their program have a very good sense if they are going to be admitted to our program and know if this program is their top choice. And so because of that, we have a very high yield rate because we do so much pre-screening and I do one-on-one meetings with many, many students. So I do see we have one question submitted, which is what percentage of students admitted submitted a graduate test score? That's a great question. I don't actually have the statistics on that specific percentage, but what I will say when it comes to graduate test scores, if you have a MCAT score, a GRE score, an LSAT, any type of graduate test score, and you feel like you're proud of that score, you are welcome to submit it for our master's application. If someone does not submit a graduate test score, it does not negatively impact the review process for them. If you have a graduate test score and maybe you didn't do as well as you wanted to, you are welcome to not submit that as well. We look at an application holistically. So we look at your transcript. What courses have you taken? Have you done well in reading intensive courses, writing intensive courses? Have you done well in bioethics courses, perhaps? And if you haven't taken a bioethics or medical humanities course, did you do well in maybe a philosophy course or a writing course or a history or a literature or a sociology or a psychology course? That could give us an indication if you would do well in the program. We look at your overall GPA. How did you do? Did you have consistency across all your semesters? Did you struggle in one semester? We look at your statement of purpose and your letters of rec to really identify your specific interest in bioethics and medical humanities, and if our program is a good fit to support your career goals ultimately. And so that's how we review applications. Every student that applies is interviewed. Typically, we conduct them on Zoom, but it allows us to dive a little bit more into your story to understand your application and you as a person and looking for mutual fit for programs. So thank you so much for your question. I know that students are still submitting questions, but one question that often comes up is what makes our program, our Master's in Bioethics and Medical Humanities program, unique? There are a lot of different Masters in Bioethics and or Medical Humanities programs across the United States and around the world. What sets our program apart? And, I answer this question in many, many different ways, but actually one of the best answers I've ever heard to this came from a colleague. He's actually based out of the history department here at Case Western Reserve. His name is Jonathan Sadowski. Dr. Sadowski is a wonderful professor and he teaches wonderful courses. And he's collaborated with us on all different projects over the years. And he once described this question, this answer in such a great way that I want to give him credit. He said that when you look at a lot of programs, especially the ones that are newer, they are doing as best as they can to offer a fantastic program. But for a program that has 30 years of history, we have been able to intentionally grow our program over the 30 years to offer 3 different concentrations, to offer our clinical ethics rotations, to offer our study abroad, to offer extracurricular opportunities, professional and career development programming, to talk about fun things in our department that are non-curriculum based. And so because of the 30-year history, we have both breadth and depth in our program. And that's what makes us unique from other programs. Other programs may be able to offer a concentration, or they may be able to offer um, rotations, but not at the level that we do. And so because we've been able to grow our program intentionally, it's really important to us that we have depth and breadth for our students. The other thing I will add is that students are really able to find that this program allows them the networking, the connections, the professionalism that they're looking for in a graduate level program. We have students every year that are applying to medical schools, law schools, PhD programs, and they anecdotally report back to us very consistently that when they go to these interviews for these different graduate professional programs, that there's a clear interest in, why are you studying bioethics and medical humanities? How do you think this is going to make you a better lawyer or a doctor or an anthropologist or a bioethicist, or add your, chosen career here? And I think that's really important to highlight. We also see students create a great bond over the year that they are here. They know that their time is limited at Case Western, being that it's a one-year program, and students dive into getting to know each other, creating bonds, reaching out to faculty to get involved in research, to see if there's different ways to grow their skill set even outside of the classroom. And I think that's really a wonderful aspect of our program. Okay, so we have another question. What are the career placements of students after graduating this program? That's a great question. So I think there's two parts to this. One is, I would say the majority of our students are doing this master's program, and their next phase is to go to medical school or law school, maybe a terminal master's degree like an MPH or an MSW, or a PhD of some kind. But there is and so they're quite successful in applying to those programs. There are students, though, who do our program and go on to get jobs, and their goal is to get into the job market. And so we have students who go on to become IRB specialists, and work for a hospital or a university and focus in on research ethics. We have students who become researchers. They join research projects. They go really into kind of qualitative research in bioethics and or medical humanities. We've had students who have gone on to careers as clinical ethicists, or if they're doing the dual degree program, they're a social worker or working in public health and using their bioethics knowledge as well. We also have students who are more non-traditional, and so they are focused on, they already have maybe a terminal degree or a career path, and they're adding to their education knowledge. And so they're going back to being a doctor or a lawyer, or transitioning from being a professor to working in public health or clinical ethics or whatever their career path might be. So I really want to highlight that there's a diversity, there's a interdisciplinary, interprofessional aspect to this. And so there's a lot of different directions that students go. I can say with confidence that if you are looking to bolster your medical school application, your law school application, master's or PhD applications, a job application, this program will add that enhancement you are looking for. We consistently hear from our students, from our colleagues, from employers that they are happy and thrilled with the qualifications that our students have. So it's a great opportunity. When you talk about research opportunities at Case Western, does that mean students have the opportunity to speak to faculty about working with them on their research projects? Yes, they do. So one way to get involved in research is through our student assistantship program. But a second way is, if students want to get involved in research, they are welcome to reach out to one of our faculty or work with our director and assistant director of research to find a placement that makes sense. Every year, students get involved in research. They will join a project that's either newly launched, and so they'll be at the beginning. Maybe they're joining a mid-project, mid-pace, or end of a project to see how things are wrapped up. We've had students that, in the process of working on these research projects, have presented at conferences, have submitted for publications as co-authors with the faculty they're working with. And The other thing I will add is we also offer research skills training to our students. And that's an example of something we offer outside of the curriculum. And so if students are interested in learning more about qualitative research skills, we do sessions on what does it mean to do a comprehensive literature review in bioethics and medical humanities? What are the resources that I go to? What are the library resources that are out there as well? We talk about what does transcribing or coding look like in qualitative research? What does it look like to interview someone? What does it look like to publish in this space? What does it look like to get public commentary on recommendation? And so we think about how students are looking to gain additional skills in the research space, whether they are officially on a research project or not. So great question. So we are at time. I just want to highlight again, if you have more questions, please feel free to email me, bioethics@case.edu. I am the person who primarily checks that email, and so I'm happy to respond to you, and we can set up a time for a one-on-one meeting to talk about your interest, your questions, your specific circumstance for a one-on-one meeting or just to answer your general questions. So thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you who are live, I appreciate you taking the time. For those who are watching the recording, thank you so much for taking the time as well. I hope you have a good rest of your day and you consider putting in an application to our Master's in Bioethics and Medical Humanities program here at Case Western Reserve University. Thank you so much.